Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 866, live from the championship. Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Today, I think we're probably going to discuss some Premier League run-in, the final few weeks. Maybe do a little Champions League recap, championship, final week going on as we speak. But first, how's it going, Eddie?
Yeah, things are going well. I was in Barcelona for a couple of days for a conference. Got back late last night, so nice little break. Enjoyed the time. Weather was good. Ate some good food.
How's the food?
Food was excellent. I mean, I do think like in Spain, it's hard to go wrong, as is the case in most of Europe, really. With any minimal research or effort, you can eat really well. But yeah, the food was, even our hotel food, the restaurant in our hotel, just that was really, really good, which was nice on days where it was just convenient to like grab lunch in a hotel and not feel like you're compromising on your food experience to just eat in a hotel. You know, it's not just pure laziness.
Those holiday inns. Amazing.
Yeah. That being said, I do have a story from my trip just to amuse you that I had not told you about yet.
Well, I was going to say, though, that's why I asked about it. So I also love the food in Barcelona. Like every time I've been, like almost every restaurant you go to is so good. I love the idea of tapas because I love that you can get you can try so many different things. Like you're not like, oh, I like this one, I like that one, but I can only choose one thing. I will say though, for someone of, I guess, my size and eating habits, and maybe you as well, it can get quite expensive pretty quickly because you end up ordering like, let's order this, and then those come and you're like, I'm still hungry, let's do another round. And next thing you know, it's just like 90 euros a person. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, it also depends so much on the speed at which they bring them out. I find when they kind of just bring everything at once, then it's not too bad because you see what you have, you eat it. It feels sort of like a normal meal, but you're just taking bits and pieces of things. In the instances, like went to one yesterday for lunch where it was very staggered. So they'd bring out two of them, you'd eat those, then another one would come, you'd eat that. And that not only does it mean you never feel like you've actually had that much food, but also the staggering nature means that you keep getting sort of hungry again almost as you wait for the next one to come. And so then it's really easy to be like, do you know what, actually, we'll add two or more. We'll add three more.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you. And also too, everything on paper looks so cheap because they might only be 7 euros. And then you don't think about that it's just two pieces. And so that comes, and then either maybe you want another one, so you order it again, or you just order something completely different. So it does add up quickly for sure.
Yeah, it's a great gimmick too, because the other thing, like especially with the price, you start looking at the menu, and let's say there's, I don't know, 12 things. And you're just like, oh yeah, they're only all like 4 or 5 euros, you know? And then you're just like, well, why don't we just like almost order all of them? And then you don't realize how quickly that starts to add up when you've ordered 10, 12, 15 different plates between a few people. It gets pricey. But I do love the idea of that because you do get to taste so much more, especially when you're with someone like you who doesn't share. So it's kind of nice when you actually have the ability of having multiple things on the plate.
I have no problem. Tapas or pinchos or anything like that. Sharing in that context, I like.
I know. So I'm saying that's why tapas are good, because I know you'll actually share.
What I'm not a fan of is sharing meals that are not intended to share. That I'm not in. I'm not into turning a normal meal into a tapas experience of you order the salmon and I'll order the chicken because I want a little bit of both. I don't want that.
I'm going to take a piece of salmon and like nicely break it into 4 little pieces. Is that what I'm doing?
Well, you know what I mean though? That to me, that isn't how I want to eat in a restaurant. Like, I don't mind, hey, yes, you can try mine. I'm not going to say, no. Like, try it so that if you know, then next time, this is what I want to get. But I don't want to think, I want this. Why do I want 30% of the thing that you want rather than all of the percent of what I want? Like, why am I ruining my experience so that we can collectively feel like we're sort of interacting with each other more? That I'm against. But if
This
you
is
go to a
Eddie's
place
nacho platter, not your
no,
nacho platter.
nachos are intended for sharing. That again falls into that category. If the food is intended for sharing, I will share it. I'm not eating a whole plate of calamari by myself. But 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 if I'm ordering a steak, I'm not splitting the steak in half because someone else can't make their mind up over what they want.
So, how many good travel stories did we get out of this trip?
A couple. So
Okay.
I got 2 good ones for you. I got
Okay. Any
one.
that are like a question, like a what's the moral correct move here? Or is it just
No,
stories?
it's just 2 stories. One's pretty
Okay.
quick. So I was there for a conference, and on
Yeah.
the Tuesday I arrived, there was, like, 3 of the companies that were sponsoring the conference were having this drinks and then talking about some of their new sort of features and stuff. So I went to those drinks. It was really good. The food was really good. And I was just sort of speaking to different people, kind of networking. Didn't really know anyone there.
The
And I was
stories
speaking.
that are running through my mind as you're telling this, that I hope it is, but I know it's
No,
not, are so good.
you won't be able to see the what's about to happen coming. So I was speaking to this, you kind of do end up in the end initially speaking to quite a lot of people, but as the evening drags on, you sort of speak to the same people mostly.
Yeah.
So I'd been speaking to this one woman quite a bit. And then at a certain moment in time, she said, "Oh, you know what? My feet kind of hurt. Can we sit down?" So I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And the
Yeah,
seating
they do.
section in the kind of space that we were in, there were 2 sofas in a sort of L shape, and then there were, like, footstool sort of poofs, out there to also be sat on.
Like ottomans
And
kind of thing? Oh,
yeah,
but you can sit on them. Okay, yeah, yeah.
yes. And so she sat down on the sofa, and I thought, I don't wanna sit down next to her on the sofa because then it's a sort of weird interaction, so I'll take one of the footstool things to sit on so that we're looking at each other. It's a bit nicer. And I went to sit on it. I put it in front of her, and I went to sit down, and it was a lot softer and nowhere near as the structural integrity of the footstool was not as good as I expected it to be. So I sat down on this thing that I was expecting it to be quite hard, and instead it was squishy and soft, and I just completely ate it. I just
You
I
didn't
said,
give like a low, slow drop just to check and
"No,
just in case? You
no,
just went for it.
I
You
misread the
went full
situation
beanbag, full
yeah.
beanbag jump down.
And so sat down, lost balance, just fell backwards over myself. So
Did
that
you
was a good
full
way.
roll?
Not full roll. I managed to kinda catch
Oh,
myself as I went backwards. So it wasn't too bad, like, it wasn't catastrophic, and fortunately, I wasn't
did you
holding
split your
on to
pants?
no,
Oh,
not
then
you.
then
Like, that's
catastrophe averted.
and I wasn't holding a drink, and I wasn't holding any food. Like, that was the good news, because had I been holding a drink, that would've gone everywhere. So it was mildly embarrassing, but also just kind of funny. Like, that's the level of embarrassment that for myself, I just find amusing, so you're not
Yeah.
sort of mortified by it. But yeah, it was a good way to make a first impression for sure.
It's like, I think of The Office with Andy Bernard when he hits on the woman to try and get the account. It's like, we lost the account the next day. Like, that's you.
But yeah, and the second thing, as you know, and you made a couple comments about it, I did also travel with my dog.
Oh, here we
Um,
go. This
e
guy.
extremely well behaved on trains and in
Sure.
cars. We've worked really
Only
hard on
bit
that.
4 people.
No, she just goes to sleep, and I mean, this was the bigger test because I've taken her on train rides that have been sort of 3 hours, which is a comfortable level because she regularly goes 3 hours without a walk or really doing anything. So if you time everything else correctly, that's easy for her to just settle down. This was nearly 7 hours, so it puts a challenge there on timing food, and also she's not gonna be able to pee or poop for 7 hours. So it's, a little bit of a concern. She was perfectly fine. She basically just slept the entire way, both there and back.
Nice.
I had no problem with that. It didn't make me feel uncomfortable because I know how well behaved she was. I did find it slightly more embarrassing to be like the people at a hotel with a dog. Like that was where I felt a bit more of
Yeah.
like this is a thing to be now. And I will say the doorman and everyone who worked at check-in and stuff loved her, so they were excited to see her when we took her in excited to see her when we went for walks, said hello. The hotel like gave her stuff. So it was an overall good, but I did feel quite self-conscious about being like the person with a hotel dog.
Well, I'll say, as a person who traveled regularly with a dog in hotels, as long as the dog isn't the type of dog that will bark in the room, it you're not that person. That's the people I don't understand, where, like, they'll bring a dog with them, and the dog will bark endlessly. Like, any noise, like, 'cause you're in a hotel, right? So if you have a dog that reacts to noises and they bark, when you're in a hotel, there are constantly gonna be people walking by, things dropping, whatever, and if you have that dog that's just always barking, it is so annoying. Like, it could be worse than the baby on a plane scenario. Like, because then you can have a dog barking at 6 a.m. and just barking nonstop, waking you up in a hotel, which is really fucking annoying. It happened when I just had my last trip. The room next to me had a dog, and it barked at everything. Like, it barked at me once when I dropped something in my own room. Like, the dog's hearing was phenomenal. So, like, it was barking at everything. That you don't wanna be that person with a dog in a hotel.
Yeah, and she doesn't bark. So
Yeah,
on that front, it was perfectly
yeah.
fine. But yeah, you just sort of feel, a little bit like, oh, um,
I don't know
it's
though,
a
because
bit.
if you have a dog that's like a friendly dog, like I think it's kind of nice to be the person with the dog at a hotel because everyone gets excited, like you said. It's kind of nice. Like you're walking in and like even the hotel guests are like, "Oh my God, this is such a cute dog. I pet your dog, blah blah." Like it actually and the I mean it's great for the dog for social interactions as well. So it's like I think it's nice to be the person with the dog at the hotel because like you're gonna get a lot of you're gonna make people happy and you're gonna make the dog happy.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, she loved it. She loved the attention. She loved getting to interact with people. And yeah, the people working at the hotel seemed to enjoy it too. But yeah, you did kind of feel a little bit, you know, it gave a slight in terms of the lobby and stuff, celebrity status in that the doorman would open the door and be like, "Oh, Utah's back." They would be super happy about that side of things. But so
Did they understand the name?
yeah, people asked about it. I think the benefit too in Spain is just the Utah thing. Kind of resembles sort of a slightly Spanish word in terms of how they then say it within their. So I don't think they're necessarily all processing it as being a state in the U.S. and more just sort of a word.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, from Point Break.
exactly. Johnny Utah, my favorite fictional quarterback. But yeah. Anyway, but yeah, good trip overall. So we'll see.
Did you get to play any paddle in Spain, the land of paddle?
I didn't. I did not take my
Oh,
paddle stuff with me.
so disappointing.
I decided to give myself a little bit of a break. So
Oh, I
I
wanted to see how you stacked up. I wanted you to do some pickup paddle. Just walk into a to an area where they had one and sign up.
I'll tell you part of my hesitancy too, because I could have, I suppose, rented a paddle, but a certain degree of my hesitancy is that the paddle that I have now, it's not like it's not a sort of shows that you're a novice, but it's definitely not the paddle that a more advanced player would have. So also in the back of my mind was I'm gonna wait until I have a nicer paddle to kind of start throwing myself into
Spend
unfamiliar
more money.
territory. Yeah, I mean, that's the other killer I have to say with paddles, and I need to know if this is a sort of big paddle is controlling this narrative or not. But when you read about how
Big
frequently
paddle.
you should replace your paddle racket, it's supposed to be depending on the frequency with which you play. Sort of 6 to 18 months is all they're really supposed to last. Because they're just a
6
sort
to
of
18, that's a big difference.
because it is just how hard you hit, how many days a week you're playing, your style of play, everything. But because it's just this composite sort of foam material, I suppose, as you hit the ball over time, it's losing some of the sort of sponginess and reactiveness that you need. But it's to me coming from tennis, where like you, unless you break your frame, I mean, you obviously need to replace your strings on a consistent basis, but the frame
Yeah.
itself sort of lasts forever, other than the temptation to get newer technology. But yeah, That's it. And obviously, too, the only slight disappointment was there was a possibility had things lined up better in terms of the Champions League. I could have been in Barcelona when a Barcelona Champions League match was being played, but they'd lost to Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals. So instead, got treated to the delight of seeing Spanish people get excited about PSG, Bayern Munich, and then Atletico Madrid, Arsenal. Two very contrasting experiences in terms of the number of people who were watching the game, the amount of noise that was being made, the overall pleasure and enjoyment. One of them,
one being good, one not.
yeah, and you're going to one of them being one of the, I think a lot of people praising it to be one of the best Champions League matches ever played. Certainly, probably in a semifinal final context. I'll do my usual thing. The only thing I'll say is a lot of goals doesn't always mean a lot of good play. And yeah, defensively, I think there's some question marks that have to be set. When you have 9 goals scored in 70 minutes, I don't think you can say that the defending was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you contrast the games, there were more goals scored than there were shots on target in the Arsenal Atletico Madrid match.
Yeah. And look, I'd love to. Let's start actually with the Arsenal Atletico Madrid one in a sense, because there's less to talk about. From Arsenal, that was a successful away leg.
Yeah.
Go there. Don't put yourself behind on aggregate. They'll be confident that they can now play Atletico Madrid at the Emirates and win that tie. They'll probably be disappointed based on the fact that they obviously beat Atletico Madrid 4-0 in Madrid in the group stages. So on that basis, you would have thought that they could have come and sort of really...
They're getting worse.
Maybe. Or Atletico are getting better as well, which is probably also somewhat true. But it was, a decent performance from them. Maybe Atletico, I think, on the balance of play probably slightly edged it. Now, I make fun of Arsenal all the time for complaining about refereeing decisions and not... I don't know how the Eze penalty was overturned.
But when you watch it, he doesn't really touch him. It's like
there's not a lot of
slightest
contact.
of foot brushes. If there's contact, it's like a brushing. It's, to me, it wasn't anything that made his body fall the way he did. It's more that like he slammed his foot in, and maybe it was to not get stepped on, that then he kind of like falls and rolls over. But it wasn't the contact that made him drop or react the way his body did. So like, but at the same time, I think I kind of agree. Like, I think what you're going to say is when you watch it, it looks clear like a penalty. And is there enough to really overturn it? Like the quote unquote overturn rule.
Yeah. So to pick on a couple of things you said there, I agree. There's not a lot of contact, as he does his best to really sell it. But then we spoke about a couple weeks ago the fact that the way matches are officiated, if you take the Haaland don't respond to a headbutt, you don't get the decision. So you have to say, if you're in the penalty area and you feel contact coming, then you should react to it to make sure the referee sees it. Additionally, I think you're also right. There is a degree there, like the foot is there. He may be somewhat avoiding the contact in order not to injure himself. He shouldn't be punished for the fact, like you're still impeding him by putting your foot directly in front of him and by not winning the ball.
So I guess my question on that is, because like obviously I don't know the rules as well. It's not like a basketball scenario where if you're in the lane first before the guy driving the lane, then it's not a foul. Like it's an offensive foul, not a defensive foul. Like the defensive player doesn't have the right to kind of be in that area and defend that area.
Because he didn't get the ball, no. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Eze's just running into him and he's just sort of standing there, then yes, he can't become a non-physical object all of a sudden. But because he's attempting to win the ball, doesn't get there, then that's a different scenario. But in real time, it looked like a penalty for sure. You just watch it and you go, "Yep, that looks like a penalty." And then to touch on your final point, VAR is supposed to intervene when it's a clear and obvious error. That's the instruction that they've been provided. Did that appear to be a clear and obvious error? I mean, no, because for the very fact that regardless of how you feel one way or the other, it's can be heavily debated. And so it doesn't feel correct to me. Like if they hadn't given a penalty and then they'd gone and reviewed it and said, "I'm not sure there's much contact." Fair enough. But
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
the fact that he's given it and then gone and watched it and is basically saying, "When I watch this replay, it is clearly not a penalty." I don't know how you come to that conclusion.
Yeah. So I guess, what I was going to ask then, if you're on the pitch, you're calling that a penalty. But if it were the reverse and he had not called the penalty, you would have been okay with that as well.
I still think it's a penalty. So ultimately, that to me is a penalty. Soft, minimal contact. I have no doubt that anyone sort of listening at home, shaking their heads or disagreeing, if the team you supported, you watch that happen, you want a penalty every time and you expect it to be given. If you're an Atletico Madrid supporter, you cannot tell me that Diego Simeone would be furiously, frantically gesticulating on the sidelines had this is a
Did you
guy
say
who famously
testiculating?
gesticulating, but he does famously grab his balls to show to like so he might have been testiculating as well had roles been reversed. But that to me, I don't think you can I don't know how you can know how you can feel like from a video officiating perspective that is proper use of the technology based on the sort of parameters that have been set for how it's supposed to be used. And I contrast that with, and I give Arteta credit, the Atletico Madrid the penalty that they were awarded, which is not a penalty in the Premier League based on the rules that are set out and how in handball is interpreted in the Premier League. It is a handball and how the rules are interpreted in the Champions League. To me, that isn't a penalty. Like, I don't feel comfortable with the idea of a defender, the ball hitting your thigh first, then going onto your hand, and somehow that being viewed as handball. Like, that to me is a silly interpretation of the rule. But that's consistent with how the handball rule has been applied across the Champions League this season. So fair enough. I don't like the law. I would change the interpretation, but it's the correct decision based on consistency with the application of that law over the course of this season. Whereas the Eze one, I think that's, if we looked for similar instances and examples across this season's Champions League, they would have all been given as penalties.
And I guess moving on to the PSG Bayern Munich match. So fun to watch.
Really fun to watch. I'm also very happy that Bayern Munich managed to drag themselves back into it. Again, listeners of the podcast will know I'm not the biggest PSG supporter. I don't watch football as a neutral just to support sovereign wealth funds, so I'm not really there. So the plucky PSG with, billions and trillions of Qatari dollars to throw behind them. I'm not congratulating them on the underdog story of suddenly becoming a force in European football. And also based on the fact that, they manipulate their domestic schedule to allow themselves to be as well rested as possible for big European matches.
Oh, we're doubling down on that one. 2 weeks in a row.
Oh yeah, I'll double down, triple down, quadruple down, and even Arteta made the same thing. This is where I don't like Arteta, because he just can't help himself. Because he said, the PSG Bayern Munich game's one of the best games I've ever watched, but that it only goes to show how good players can be when they're rested and fresh.
Nice.
Okay, we get it, but that's not the reason why Arsenal are not playing the same level of standard of football as Bayern Munich. But I'm glad that from 5-2, Bayern Munich were able to get themselves back to 5-4, and to not only prevent PSG sort of being able to puff their chests and call themselves the best team in Europe already, but also because it means we're set up for a second leg where anything could happen. If it had gone back to Munich at 5-2 down, or even 5-3, you would have started to feel as if it was a monumental task for Bayern Munich to turn the leg around, knowing that neither of these teams are going to keep a clean sheet in the second leg.
Yeah.
Like that's the issue, right? Like Bayern Munich cannot win this game 2-0 in the second leg and advance to the final. They will know they're going to need to score 3-4 goals.
Yeah. No, it was it, I can slightly agree with you on the fact that, if in any match you're putting up 9 total goals, then the defense isn't going to be top notch. But a lot of those goals were very nice. A lot of them, I think, were credit to the offensive player and not the defense.
100%.
Not all of them, but a lot of them were. I
Yes.
still think,
But
and you still saw some good defensive play as well
you
within
did.
that match. So like it was just in terms of being a neutral and wanting to watch good matches, I don't think it gets any better than that.
No, and look, I would rather watch a game with outstanding attacking play than watch a game with just outstanding defensive play. And if it's
Yeah,
outstanding attacking play with a little bit of mediocre defending, I'd rather that than outstanding defending play with a little bit of mediocre attacking. Like the balance
yeah.
is the right way around. But also, I mean, again, I said it's not just 9 goals in the match. The last goal was scored in the 68th minute.
And then
It
they clamped
wasn't.
down.
Yeah, then they defended really well for the final half an hour. So, it was very enjoyable. I hope the second leg is more of the same, especially because we're at the same time being treated to just a dull snooze fest between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid. I don't know. This is the interesting thing. We speak about this sometimes, and I think I've spoken about it when in terms of watching international sport, where I'll watch England play, and then you watch another team play, and you go, or we've even spoken about it in the NFL. Actually, we do this a lot, where we'll watch like the Seattle Seahawks play, and then I'll say like, when you watch the 49ers, it's not the same. There are different levels here, and there's just no chance. I don't know how you're an Arsenal supporter and you watch that match beforehand and can even contemplate saying that you think that this Arsenal team is on a par with PSG or Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I agree. And so I guess off of that, being someone I think who slightly wants to see Arsenal just free fall this entire season, is the better result seeing them burn out in the semifinals against Atletico Madrid, who then will likely lose? Or is it making it to the finals and then just getting demolished?
So I don't want to see them be demolished. I'll say that. Because I do want to see good games. And for example, I didn't really enjoy last season's Champions League final and watching PSG comfortably beat Juventus. No outcome of this is me wanting to see PSG or Bayern Munich win really easily in the final. So for that reason, I actually think I would rather see Arsenal make the final because
Yeah.
I think they've got a better chance of making a good game of it. Atletico Madrid, yes, they're the sort of kings of the dark arts, and you never know in a final, Simeone will have, specific
Oh, Harry
tackle.
Potter reference.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Harry Potter was the first thing to coin the term dark arts, but so I probably, if I could have my way, it would be a Bayern Munich Arsenal final. I also think Harry Kane would probably love the idea as a, Tottenham
Yeah.
legend of having the chance to win the Champions League against Arsenal. I think that would be extra special for him. So I really hope it's Bayern Munich. What happens on the other side, I care slightly less.
Speaking of Tottenham, I don't know if you saw this stat. I thought this was crazy. Eh, PSG have now won more home matches against Premier League teams than Tottenham have this season. They have 7 wins at home against Premier League teams this year.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, the one I saw kept being touted.
And these are good teams too. Like, we're not talking shit teams. It's City, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, and Liverpool. They've beaten all of them at home.
Yeah. No, I mean, until
And I guess sorry, 6. Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean,
Not 7. I said 7, but 6.
yeah, it's yeah, it's Spurs home record is much made fun of. I mean, it was there were lots of stats going on about how the Vikings, because of that one win they had against the Browns at Spurs, had kind of nearly been as successful as Spurs had been in London. But
Yeah.
and then I guess also worth noting, the only other controversy from the week, we don't talk about the other European Cup competitions very much, but in the All-English semifinal between Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest, it has to be said that the tackle on Anderson's tackle on Watkins, which somehow wasn't a red card, again, not a great look for VAR in European competition.
Man, I know switching from champions to championship, I know it's not the best podcasting move to talk in real time as matches are going on, but it looks like a thrilling last 20 minutes here for the last playoff spot up for grabs between Wrexham and Hull, where now, as it stands with 20 minutes left, Wrexham will secure that spot by 1 in the point differential.
Goal difference.
Goal difference, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, level on points, scored the same number of goals.
Now it looks like it's kind of over. This is why it's great to talk in real time.
Well, especially when the update isn't even complete for listeners. Well, I have Wrexham just scored. Is that what you're saying? Or Hull went behind?
Hull went behind.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the good news, I guess it's not, there's still 20 minutes to go, and all you need is 2 goals, some combination of 2 goals. So it's, still very much up for grabs, but yeah, disappointing. I've been, Blackburn have missed out on the playoffs on goal difference and by a couple of points recently in the last few seasons. It is tough. Even if you tell yourself, as I have done in those instances, they would not have got promoted. Like, there's no way this team is not good enough to get through. You still also can't, it's only playing really well for 3 matches. And actually, arguably, you only really need to play really well for 2 matches. Like, if you can win one of the semifinal legs comfortably, you win the first leg 3-0, you can then limp your way through the second leg, and then you just need to really play well in the playoff final. So
yeah, or maybe get lucky. You never know. In one match, you can get lucky. You can go up a man. Or
strange things can happen, and especially in the final with all the pressure on. But one has to ask, where are you seeing this update that Hull are losing?
Oh, sorry. Oh, actually, as we speak live, it looks like Hull have a big chance.
So not only is it not interesting for us to provide updates.
Here we go. Hull just went up now 2-1.
Yeah. So listeners,
I had a different thing on, and the wrong thing came up.
Derby County, who went 2-1 behind. Is that what you saw? Yeah. So listeners will now be puzzled of when we're Hull losing 2-1. So yes, we can update listeners who will hear this probably tomorrow when it's all been resolved anyway. But Hull are now in the playoffs as they are 2-1 up. So pressure on Wrexham to find a winner in their match, or hope that I'll slip up.
Don't worry, listeners. We'll keep you updated live.
Keep you posted.
As this goes.
I mean, the interesting thing is, right, there will be a significant percentage of our listeners who will not even check the championship scores. So this is the only way that they will experience this particular news. But yes.
Yeah. I guess getting then on to the... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of playoffs, I have watched we don't talk NBA very much, but I'll just quickly say, it was
what a day for Minnesota. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Both the Wild and the Timberwolves advanced in the same day. That's a pretty... I was going to look up and try and find the stat for how many times teams from the same city in different sports advance in a playoff in the same day, but that just seemed way too complicated for ChatGPT. There's no way ChatGPT can comprehend that.
It definitely has to have happened a number of times, just because the timings of like first round, second rounds are so similar, and the number of New York, it must have happened between, especially because you've got a couple of things to choose from once you get there. I guess it also depends a bit on how.
But it'll be the sports that are playing at the same time. That's what makes it a
Yeah,
little
it's NBA,
tough.
NHL. That's
Yeah.
the only option you have. I mean, also, we're talking major sports here, right? We're not like, well,
Yeah.
actually, in the MLS Cup, Miami won a game on the same, like we don't want to do that. And acknowledging our bias here a little bit too, we're also talking men's sports because the
Yeah.
WNBA playoffs could also throw,
And women's
open up
hockey.
some, open up some other possibilities. But yeah, the Timberwolves did well considering that they had 2 catastrophic injuries. So
Yeah.
for them, this is again where as a neutral, cool story, but ultimately you're kind of ruining the playoffs by going through in a sense. Like they deserve to beat the Nuggets for sure. You don't win a 7-game series without deserving it. But you're just handing the team in the next round a bye because you are limping into that leg. Like it's sort of a shame.
Now, Eddie, now that you brought this up, DiVincenzo is one of the players who I think he tear his Achilles,
Appears to have done, yeah.
right? So the night before he did that, we were going out to a bar. Me and I took out my students, and we were talking about the Timberwolves, and someone said something about DiVincenzo, and I said, "Oh, I actually had breakfast next to him," and told the story about how the waitress was like, "Can you believe you had breakfast next to him?" And I was like, "To be honest, I had no fucking clue who that was, but that's kind of cool." And then the next day, after I spoke his name in that car, he tore his Achilles. So I don't know how far the Duke of Curse can go and whether I can claim another victim, unfortunately, for him. But
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's a
sorry. I
stretch.
am personally sorry if I did contribute to that. Maybe I pushed the luck or the unluckiness over the edge.
I'll say that's as much as I love to throw the Duke of Curse accusation at you. I think if you had seen him the day before at breakfast, then that's the Duke of
Okay.
Curse. But just mentioning the fact that you had at some point had breakfast with him like 7 months ago,
But I
breakfast with him.
haven't told that story in probably since that happened. And I
Yeah, because
told
it's not
you
that
the next
interesting.
day. I
That's the
know, but it's
ultimate
still.
reason. But no, I think that's stretching the Duke of Curse too far. That's undermining the integrity of the
Okay.
Duke of Curse because there are some much, much better examples of.
You don't think that took it from like a strained Achilles to a snapped Achilles, maybe?
No, I mean, I think the bigger argument of the Duke of Curse is this is still your first NBA season living in Minnesota, and the team is falling apart through catastrophic injuries. I think
Hey,
that's the Duke of.
but they're advancing.
At what cost? I mean, at what cost? Wow, a round 2 exit, but in the meantime, like every player will come back 70 to 80% of what they were previously. Like this
Hey,
is
first time Minnesota Wild have advanced in 11 years
no,
or
that's
11
yeah,
playoffs.
no, for sure. There's good
It's a
stuff there,
Duke a
but
boost.
that might be going a little far. I don't think one. If they win the Stanley Cup, then maybe we can talk Duke a boost. But I think one, even if they haven't done it much in recent history, I think making it through one round is not exactly that incredible of an achievement.
I broke an 11 series streak.
It's pretty good. Speaking of an incredible achievement, it's a shame you hadn't just moved to Orlando because they were playing game 6 of their playoff series against the Pistons yesterday. At one point, they were 24 points up. So it was game over, advancing to the next round. And then they proceeded to miss 23 shots in a row, which got me thinking, like, if you just threw, and I know I would miss 23 shots in a row. I'm not really standing by this claim. But if you just threw me out onto an NBA court and let me jack up 23 shots, there's a reasonable chance I at least make one of them, like one lucky 3 banks in or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the other aspect of that too is it's not as if they're just taking like half court threes, like
No, yeah, which is what I would be doing.
yeah.
Because that's the only way I'm getting a somewhat uncontested shot up and not just being instantly blocked. But yeah, no, there were some good, okay, out of 23 shots, there were some bad looks in there, but I'm sure if we broke down the tape, there's some pretty good looks out of those 23 as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And LeBron James advancing to the second round.
For the 33rd time in his career.
I, the
I
longevity.
honestly, I wouldn't be super surprised if it's close to that number. I know it's not, but you know what I mean? Like, he's now played for
What's your
so
real
long.
guess? How many times do you think he's
Uh,
played in the second round of the playoffs?
18 times.
16th. This is now.
Eh, it's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, most just playing 16 NBA seasons is crazy. So to
Yeah.
have 16 playoff seasons that also include making it to at least the second round is insane. Like, uh, I still don't think that LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. And I think that if a lot of other players from the past had been afforded the same luxuries in terms of the medical care and the knowledge and also the amount of money that he earns relative to what people earned in the past, I think you would have seen more players doing something at least similar from a longevity perspective. But undeniably, the ability to play for that long and still be one of the best, even if you just want to say 50 players in the league, is unbelievable.
Yeah. It's crazy. Did you want to touch on Arsenal and City, the showdown, the chase?
Yeah, we can do. Obviously, it's advantage Arsenal. City won their FA Cup game last week. Arsenal won their league game, scraped through a little bit against Newcastle, which is the one I had penciled in as a draw, and they won, not super convincingly, but they won. So, and then they have the advantage this weekend as well of playing before City do. So City aren't playing till Monday night. Arsenal are playing today. So, and a home match against Fulham, which really you should expect them to win. I mean, there's no
Do you want
excuses if they
do you want a good stat?
go for it.
Arsenal have never lost at home to Fulham. 32 times they've played them and have never lost. It's the most for any Premier League team playing another team.
It's a good stat. The problem here is, right, it's not about them losing.
I
Just a
know.
draw would be
Yep.
catastrophe. So,
Yeah.
that's what makes this run-in so interesting is it's not a don't lose scenario, it's a must win scenario. And yeah, I mean, I think it will put a lot of pressure psychologically, and this is I'm not I don't feel sorry for City, but it is a little bit of a shame for them that they had that big match against each other. They managed to sort of put it back on level pegging, and then with the way the fixtures have then played out, they are going to find themselves probably in a 6-point hole going into Monday night. And
Yeah.
so no matter what you tell yourself about, look, their game in hands, we're still level here. It's still advantage us. If we win all of our matches, we probably win the Premier League. You can tell yourself that, but you'd much rather have the points on the board.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like just seeing it, I think, kind of puts us that little
Yeah.
doubt or whatever you want to say in your head. Just that it makes you just think about it, like, wow, we're 6 points down, even though we've got 2 games, but wow.
And when you're in that match and you're 1-0 up and you think about the fact that we're still kind of 6 points behind, like there's going to be, and we see that in terms of the psychology. It's why you're better off going first in a penalty shootout. The success rate of the team going first is much higher. It's why serving first in tennis makes more sense because, again, just sort of getting points on the board, putting yourself ahead, even if technically you're not, is still better off than, going up and, there's Arsenal will if Arsenal win today, they'll feel like they have some breathing room, even though they kind of don't. But they'll tell themselves like, "But well, by the time we next play, we may actually be in complete control of the Premier League."
Yeah, so an interesting next few days here that could really shake it up. I have one more good Premier League stat, or
Okay.
unless you want to continue Arsenal. and
Well, the
City.
only thing I'm going to say again, and kind of saying it over and over, but as a neutral, I just hope that this doesn't sort of
And quickly.
yeah, that it's not like, oh, Arsenal beat Fulham, City lost to Everton. And it
Yeah, it's
suddenly we
over.
go from thinking we're about to have this heavyweight clash towards the end of the Premier League season, and then it's really quickly just evaporates, and we have Arsenal lifting the Premier League title with 2 games to go.
Yeah. And it would also be the other unfortunate part would be if it does make it to the final week, we can't all get together with Sam and just
I mean,
watch him in agony.
maybe I'll go to London if it's all to play for on that Sunday. Maybe I'll go to
All right,
London.
fuck it, I'll go too.
It will be worth it. The trip will pay for itself if City lift the title.
He just jumps off the London Bridge.
If Arsenal win the title, then he can pay for my travel. But
and mine.
One other talking point I actually failed to mention that I wanted to bring up. I'm not a big Ben White fan. I don't think he should ever play for England again. A whole other debate. But there's a big backlash to Ben White stepping on the Atletico Madrid crest.
Oh, yeah. Saw it. Stepped on purpose. Not only did he step on, he slammed his foot and then twisted his foot.
I think this is the dumbest thing in sports. And lots of teams do it, and then you have lots of players who film those videos of themselves to go on Instagram and stuff of where they show how respectful they are when they sort of tiptoe around the side. If you're going to put your big club badge right in front of the tunnel or as you enter the pitch, then it is intended to be stepped on. I don't know where this concept came from that you can't step on it and it's a sign of disrespect to do so. Then don't put it on the fucking ground. Like, I don't understand this at all. If I were a player, I would I'm not going to grind my feet into it, but I would just absolutely walk over it. I think it's so stupid.
Yeah, I've always thought it was stupid since the whole Dallas Cowboys incident where they were stepping on the star and they went ballistic and had to fight with Terrell Owens and stuff. But you see it a lot in college football. You see it a lot.
But a lot. I will say there they do the dumb thing where they are rubbing their feet into it, and it's
artificial turf.
I agree with you.
What are you doing? You're kicking up plastic black little pieces. Oh my God.
I agree with you. And if I were on the other team, I would be confident in the fact that that's what they're having to do to try and give themselves an edge in a game is an indication that we're probably going to win. Having said that, yeah, if Ben White had been grinding his heel into the badge, fair enough. You can try and convince me that that's a sort of dumb, disrespectful gesture.
Yeah. He had teabagged the emblem, or it's a different story.
Yeah. And especially, too, given the fact that we know from him leaving the England camp, he doesn't care at all about football. He openly says this. So do we really think that he's trying to disrespect Atletico Madrid or just really doesn't care where he is in that moment?
He just wants to get to his locker and get the fuck out.
Yeah.
What's the quickest, shortest distance I can get to my locker and get the hell out of here?
Yeah. Could have been a picture of his mother on the ground and he would have walked all over it. I mean, yeah.
So my other stat before we switch on to another sport is unfortunately a Chelsea stat. So, one of our friends of the podcast will not be too happy, but Chelsea have now lost and not scored in 5 straight Premier League matches. They have never done this 6 matches in a row. So this weekend, they could be getting into unfamiliar, absolutely atrocious territory.
I will say that we spoke about that stat when at the change of manager, because I think that was the thing that put the nail in the coffin for him, right? Yeah, no, I mean, if it's 6 games in a row, then it's impressive regardless of who you are.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for them, fortunately for them, I think they'll be okay, because I think they'll probably at least manage to score against Nottingham Forest, especially as Nottingham Forest will have an eye on Europe. But who knows?
I'm sure a lot of Premier League fantasy owners have not been happy with
no,
that.
Yeah, if you've got Chelsea attacking players, it's not going well. Should we give just to tie in, we'll give an update. It's 83 minutes into the Hull Norwich match, and it's still Hull 2, Norwich 1. It's 87 minutes in the Wrexham Middlesbrough match, and it's still 2 all there. So the Wrexham match will likely finish before the Hull match does, which I always love because I love when it cuts to the ground, especially. It's sort of ruined now in the modern era because everyone knows exactly what the score was. I think when you see the clips back from like the 90s and there it's people listening to a handheld radio to try and get what the score update is. And
That's cool.
one person gets the score update and you hear the murmur kind of go around the ground. With everyone having flash scores and other things going, it's less of but we'll see.
As long as I can read your flash scores right.
Yeah, that's the problem for you. Maybe good thing you're not Wrexham manager. You'd be on the touchline telling them, pressure's off, guys. Pressure's off. Hull are losing. Hull are losing. We're through.
So I guess quickly, we can maybe just talk American football. Just a quick shout out that we didn't really discuss the NFL draft. I know you're not a big draft talker until you just see how the players actually end up playing. So it's not worth debating who won and who lost. I do think there are a few talking points. One obviously being the Ty Simpson being drafted by the Rams and Sean McVay looking, I'll just say, not enthusiastic about it, borderline unhappy about it. That was a weird one. We can discuss that. The other one, though, that I always love to discuss is how many people go to this draft. And I know we talk about it every year. I just don't get it. I don't get what is fun about being in that area during the draft. And I don't get why you'd want to be with, I think it was, I cannot remember the full number, but it was something insane this year. It was more than last year. I think it was
it's tens of thousands of people.
No, it was like 700,000 people.
Yeah, over the course of the whole draft, though.
Yeah.
Not in a single day. It's not nearly a million people flooding the streets. It's like, but yeah, it's a lot of people. The thing I don't get about it is I would understand if they made it cheap. Like if it was this sort of celebration of the NFL.
So real quick, I'm just going to update. On the first day, that Thursday, 320,000 people were at the draft in Pittsburgh. And then that was the first day record, surpassing 275. So you're now at almost a third of a million people on the first day to watch that. And for the 3-day, they were at 805,000 total.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But you see the people saying like, oh, well, a beer is $20 and all that stuff too. So it's not even as if there was some sort of basically big tailgate and actually it was good food and maybe even the NFL giving away food, giving away drinks just to try and encourage people to come to the draft and sort of enjoy the NFL without any games going on. But the fact that it's all just a huge moneymaker that you're going to pay a premium for, I don't understand. It would be boring. And
to
expensive.
watch what? Like you're not even watching a game. You're watching Roger Goodell walk to a stand and call out a name. And arguably, how else
are you going to boo?
I'm sure you probably can see it a billion times better on television than the view you have with 300 other thousand people in front of you.
The only thing I did see that was kind of cool is because each team does have sort of they have fans in the sort of front few rows. And I did see some announcement that the Rams, or it was the Rams or the Chargers, one of the LA teams, they were short of people being there. So they were making an announcement that if you were let's say it was the Chargers, if you were a Chargers fan at the draft, you could sort of make yourself known. And then they were going to seat you in that closed off area right at the front. And they give you a bunch of merchandise, like a draft hat and a bobblehead and stuff. If that's the setup you go to, if you can tell me that, I'm going because I'm one of the selected fans, I've got priority seating and I'm getting a little bit of sort of maybe I could understand it. I still wouldn't. It would just be so boring, but I could maybe understand it. But if you're just going to go and stand there from 300 yards away and cheer or boo when a pick is made, I don't get it.
Yeah. Crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think most of the draft a little bit went chalk for the most part. Obviously, Mendoza going number one, Jeremiah Love going high. Probably some people didn't think to the Cardinals, but it was a high draft pick. I think for the Giants, they got pretty lucky in Avril Reese dropping all the way to number five, who he was um many people's boards probably the actual number one best player in the draft. Obviously it's tough to compare a quarterback to a DN in terms of how much you need them, but overall grade, he had one of the highest grades, so that was nice to get all the way to five for the Giants. I think it's a good steal for them. Don't know if they need another DN. They've got like 19 of them now. It's like all they've got on their team, but we'll see. And then they also got a nice tackle when they traded Dexter Lawrence to get the 10th pick. So happy as a Giants fan, but obviously, like we always say, you have to see how they do on the field. It's great that you have good potential, but is that actually going to translate on the field? And for the Giants, they've had many a drafts where they've taken DNs and O tackles and it hasn't worked out. So, you just can't expect it to work out just because they're freaks in the combine or on the field in college. So we'll see. But then the Ty Simpson pick, I think that's the big talking point. I don't know what to make of that. I don't really understand it. I
Yeah, I so for those unfamiliar, it kind of cut to you see their war rooms, their draft rooms, and you get to see these behind the scenes, the phone calls that they made. And the phone call included Sean McVay seemingly being displeased with the pick. You had Ty Simpson sort of reacting happily and saying how excited he was, and Sean McVay just saying, "Yeah, enjoy it. We'll see about that," basically. And then afterwards, Simpson saying that he has had very little communication with any of the existing players, that he hadn't heard from Matthew Stafford, although Matthew
heard
Stafford's wife had sent a
yeah.
DM.
That
Which
was a great that lit up Instagram. I mean, obviously there's the story that she herself said about uh trying to get Matthew Stafford at Georgia by hooking up with the backup quarterback. So that was the internet did a good job on that one. I'll give them that credit. Sometimes the internet wins. That was one of them.
yeah, and here's all I'll say on it is like, if you're Matthew Stafford, maybe you feel that that was a little bit of a joint message. It's still weird that it came from your wife, but maybe if you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, he felt like this is us reaching out to you, because I'm sure she didn't say, "Let me know if there's anything." I'm sure it was, "We're so happy for you. Let us know if there's anything that we can do." So
There
we
was
can
probably
maybe
a Matt and I are
yes.
excited for you.
Yes. So maybe it's still weird that it comes from her, but maybe you give him the benefit of the doubt that he says, like, he did already message him. Like, do I need to also, guy is technically trying to steal my job. Do I also have to send him a second message and really seem like I'm so delighted that he's here? We'll give him that pass. The Sean McVay one, okay, maybe he doesn't love the pick. Maybe he was overruled. Maybe and there've been supposedly there's been issues in the past that he feels like they haven't been focusing on areas where they needed attention, and that maybe he doesn't hold the sway that he wants to within the organization in terms of who gets picked. But part of your job, especially that all this stuff is filmed, has to be like a good chemistry person, to make the other person
Yeah.
seem welcome, to make them seem like they want him to succeed. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that he can't pull himself together for a 25-second phone call. Because no matter what, you also have to say, as a human being, you need to, in that moment, appreciate that this is one of the biggest moments of that person's life, and it's the culmination of a huge amount of work. And is like will be a very emotional and moving moment for him and his family and friends and stuff. And so, even if you don't care that he's on your team, to not be able to separate yourself from that for 30 seconds and just say, "Wow, incredible achievement. I'm sure you and your family are so excited about this. You've worked so hard to be here. This is going to be a great next step for you." That's all you had to say. You
Yeah.
don't have to say, "I'm your biggest fan. Can't wait to work with you. You're going to be a star." You don't have to say any of that. You literally can just say, "This must mean a lot to all of you. Congratulations."
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a great look. Yeah, I just don't really get the pick though. Like I understand you kind of want to have the successor to Stafford, and you kind of look at when teams have done it well, it works really well. You know, when you look at Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, where Love sat for a few years, uh, Mahomes, Alex Smith, you know, like there are great examples of it when you have a good quarterback there and you have what you think will be a good quarterback that you can give them the time to develop, to really learn. And when that starter is ready to move on, that backup's ready to step up. I just don't know if you needed to do it with Ty Simpson. I mean, unless you really think this is Stafford's last year, and maybe that is conversation that they have had in the building that people don't know about. But if Stafford's going to be around for 2 to 3 more years, next year's draft is going to be loaded with quarterbacks. Like you could easily get a much better quarterback, and maybe it takes a slight trade to move up, the draft a little bit. But I think it's weird to risk trying to do this like he's our next one with a quarterback that will probably be, if they do the rating system, would be the 8th best quarterback in next year's draft. Like those are the ones that never really work.
Maybe. But then a lot of people were saying that when you run the evaluation that he's a better quarterback than Mendoza. You know, there were people making the argument that he was the best quarterback in the draft. And if you're the
Oof.
Rams and
Who
you're,
did that?
well, people were, it wasn't, and like, to me, it makes sense as a sort of succession planning. And on top of it, it's not just succession planning. Matthew Stafford gets injured a lot. If anything, last season was more of an outlier than it was representation of what we should expect from him. He misses a handful of games most seasons. So you're either, is it not the ideal situation where you think not only can he learn from a really great seasoned pro, who also a lot of the breakdown says they kind of play similarly, like what they're good at is quite similar. So we can really try and sort of develop Matthew Stafford 2.0 to a certain extent, but also the team is good. So this is a really great time to bring someone in where the atmosphere in the building is great. He has weapons surrounding him. He has like everything he needs where he will feel as if he can succeed. To me, it makes sense. Like I don't hate it as a pick. I hate the reaction to it. And
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong, I can get Sean McVay thinking to himself, this pick fucking sucks. We don't need a quarterback. We're like so close to we're trying to compete in our division. Our division's the hardest division in football. On top of it, the best team in the NFL is in our division. And on top of that, we're so close to getting over the line. We just need one or two key positions. And this is not the thing we can't play two quarterbacks. So this isn't going to be the thing that makes a difference for us. But, and I can also get him thinking, even if this guy's amazing, I'm probably gone from here, like in 4 seasons. Maybe
4.
Sean
He's
who knows?
38.
Yeah, but he's rumored in the past, he's threatened that he maybe wanted to go and do TV more. He's been with the Rams for a long time. Like, are we really expecting Sean McVay to be the Rams head coach for 25 years? Like what's the
Maybe.
vision of this? So, he might think that he would, in an ideal world, win one more Super Bowl with the Rams.
He's 40. Sorry.
And then move on to a new challenge. And so he doesn't really care about developing another quarterback. But again, that's me putting, words into his mouth more than anything. But, but yeah, you are correct, though. I do not love the instant draft reaction because I just think it's impossible to tell whether a pick is good based just on what their college career was like. I guess we can provide the update. I'll interrupt myself to say that Hull have made the championship playoffs. They held on to their 2-1 lead and Wrexham could not find a winner. So it is Hull that sneaks into the 6th spot.
And that's why the championship is so thrilling, because flash scores makes it so.
And we're listening to a non-live podcast giving you the score updates 24 hours later.
That'll make for a great season finale episode of season 4 of Welcome to Wrexham.
Yes. But so, yeah, I don't love let's give a grade to a team or, like fans getting really annoyed with a pick because they felt like it was a reach. I mean, you and I have debated this before. The only thing I'll agree on, I don't like the Cardinals taking a running back with a third pick because it just seems dumb. And they could have definitely traded back from the third pick quite significantly and still got the running back if that's what they wanted to. However, I don't also believe in just endlessly trading back, expecting that if you really think a guy is great, then all it takes is for one other team to think that guy is great. And then your trading back strategy doesn't work. And there's nothing worse than a team being like, we loved him too. It's just we were planning on taking him with the 90th pick and he went with the 65th and we didn't see that coming. And now he's going to the Hall of Fame. And it's like, well, you had the 60th pick. Why didn't you just take him there if you really did love him? And the Niners draft is a great representation of this, where basically every Niners pick is categorized as reach. And they traded back already at the start of the draft. And, the criticism of them now. And look, the Niners have drafted very poorly in the Lynch Shanahan era. So that's the thing that is not reassuring. Although last year's draft seems to have worked out pretty well, but for the most part, they've drafted badly. And just got lucky. Like the Brock Purdy pick saves them from how terribly they've drafted. But I don't love someone like them taking Stribling and the argument being, oh, he was more of a late third round, early fourth round guy. What a terrible pick. If he's going to turn out to be a legitimate NFL wide receiver, then whether you took him in the second round, the third round, or the fourth round, that's going to be a good pick. And no one 10 years from
Yeah.
now is going to be like, but it was a reach.
Yeah, maybe. But like, if you could have gotten him in the fourth round, but then also someone was available there who also becomes a good player, then it wasn't a
Maybe.
great pick.
But we'll never know if you could have got him then, right? And that's the game that you're playing. It's this game where you think, and the thing is, they have way more information than we do, as to how highly do other scouts, because these scouts will be talking to each other. So they'll have some sense. There'll be one guy who's like, yeah, I've been going to every Ole Miss game. And I know, like, I'll talk to the other scouts and like this scout loves him and that scout loves him. And I know he's pushing for him. Of course, they're not revealing draft boards and strategies to each other, but they'll have some sense of the fact that we're not the only guys who think this person's really good. And I don't know. Let's use a recent example of Puka Nacua taken in the 5th round. If all of the instant reaction to Puka Nacua had been, what a reach, that's a 7th round talent. You shouldn't have taken, what a waste of a 5th round. You know what you could have done is you could have traded back. You could have got 2 6th round picks and then taken him in the 7th anyway. No, but you know what I mean? But this is, in the end,
Yeah.
you get Puka Nacua. Like, the quality of the pick is there. And it's like, yeah, the Rams could have, and again, I mean, this is a huge hypothetical. The Rams could have maybe got an extra draft pick, and probably that's a nobody, and it doesn't matter, but maybe it's also someone good. But the risk they run is that before they get to then reuse that pick, someone else takes Puka Nacua, and they're sitting there being like, we really liked him. We thought he was going to be good, and now he's playing for another team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that idea. The only argument I'll say is, at the end of the day, it's usually the first and second round picks that end up being good players. So I think that's where the risk comes, is like, did you reach on your first or second round? Whereas like I think honestly, once you get to like the third round, if it's the player you like, take it, because the chances are that you've missed out on drafting a player that's going to be an all pro is so rare. But I think in that first, like, I forget what the stat is, but it's a really high stat of like first and second round are like 93% of the starters or something like that. It's like a really high number. So I think that's like the only thing with it being a reach, is that it was in the first round. So like did you miss out on someone who could be an 8-year guard for you or something, like. But I agree. If it ends up being an all pro, then that, you did the right move. Like, you got a player
and general
who
draft
makes a difference.
strategy. That's why I'm going to separate the Cardinals. It's just that taking a running back with the third pick,
Yeah,
is insane, regardless
well,
of
I
how
mean,
good they are. And I know you could probably quote the like recent performance of those, where basically the only one who I think maybe justifies that is Saquon Barkley. Maybe
Does it? Yeah, and that was kind of what I was going to say. So I mean, I can give you the number 1, 2, 3 overall, the highest running backs combo. Let's just go recently. You have Ashton Genty was in the first round last year. That
Too
was
too
not
early to
looking good.
tell, but not a
Yeah,
great
but
start.
yeah, Saquon Barkley was number 2. Bijan Robinson, I think, was number 8. That was like 3 years ago. Uh, like, yeah, they're good, but I don't know. I always just think you can get a veteran running back that can step in and make it. Maybe Barkley is. You can argue he helped the Eagles win. That he was phenomenal that season.
Yeah. So if we go top 10 running backs taken in the top 10, and it's the numbers look even worse once you go top
Past
3.
5.
Like, but because you're just missing out on so much value there typically. So yeah, obviously it's Jeremiah Love this year. Genty was taken with the 6th pick
Yeah.
last year. Bijan Robinson was the 8th pick. Saquon Barkley was the 2nd pick in 2018. So I guess we'll say Bijan Robinson and Genty too early to tell, and Robinson maybe performing well enough to justify the 8th pick in the draft. Maybe Saquon Barkley, yeah, was he based on talent? Was he probably in a top 2 of that draft? Yes, but like, is that as impactful on the Giants as you would hope a really great 2nd pick in the draft is? Absolutely not, and that's the issue. And in the end, where he's had the biggest impact in terms of success is a different
Was a
team.
stacked team. And a stacked team.
Yeah.
And a team that his numbers were insane, but as crazy as it is to say, they didn't rely on him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was like 1A in their offense.
Leonard Fournette in 2017 by the Jags.
Oof.
Say that's a miss. Christian McCaffrey, the 8th pick to the Panthers. Again, you can probably justify it, but then his output has been incredible in that time, and the Panthers were good for the initial part of that period, so you could say he played a crucial role in that sort of Cam Newton era Panthers team. I guess you give that one a pass, but it's still, Ezekiel Elliott, 2016 went number 4 to the Cowboys. Again, you could say like first 5 years of Ezekiel Elliott's career were incredible. The Cowboys were pretty good. Todd Gurley,
Maybe.
the 10th to the 2015 to the Rams. Again, Todd Gurley was great. So you can justify a few of them. Then you get into the big misses, like 2012, Trent Richardson, 3rd pick to the Browns. And this is the real issue, is when you look top 2, top 3. So Jeremiah Love, 3rd pick, Saquon Barkley, 2nd pick, Trent Richardson, 3rd pick, Reggie Bush,
2nd pick. You have to do that.
He
was just so good. He was just so fucking good.
and Ronnie Brown the year before, 2nd pick to the Dolphins.
Yeah. And then the 2 first overalls ever, O.J. Simpson. I mean, that worked out well. And
both personally and professionally.
And Kajana Carter.
Whatever happened to him?
Coming from Penn State. Kajana Carter? I don't know.
No.
I know.
But yeah, so no, overall history would tell you it's just a dumb move. And also too, ultimately you'd be like, the Cardinals are bad in a really tough division. The difference maker is not going to be a running back. And also when you look at the career span of running backs, so let's say Jeremiah Love is a great running back. He probably has, history would tell us, 6 or 7 seasons where he can put out an elite level of production. And so as the Cardinals, without nailing a lot of other things, in the next 6 or 7 years, they are not a Super Bowl contender because they're missing so many other parts. And so even if, and that's the thing which must be tough, is because you could sit in that draft room and go, we know he's going to be amazing. And if another team takes him, he might be the guy scoring 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, and we thought we could have had him. But the thing is like, unless you can put him in that scenario, it really doesn't matter.
Let me ask a slightly, I don't know if it's cynical, but what do you think there's any thought given to will this increase attendance, fan base, things like that. Like picking a player, like Reggie Bush is a great example. Uh, Reggie Bush was arguably way more popular than Jeremiah Love was, but maybe on a talent level, Jeremiah Love is actually closer than I think people think. I think just Reggie Bush, his highlight reels were just insane. But when you really look at the stats, Jeremiah Love is pretty amazing. Do you just draft him regardless of whether you think that's the best play? Because ultimately that will bring more fans to the stadium. It'll sell more jerseys. Like, do you think you should give any thought to that?
Maybe with a quarterback, where I don't know, like a running back. Because the problem is if his offensive line sucks, it doesn't really matter how good he is. And I mean, like, do I really see a future where in the next couple of years I'm going to watch Jeremiah Love just break off 250 yards against the Seattle Seahawks? Probably not. Like, I'm sure he'll have an occasional really good game. And this is the issue. It's like the Genti pick last year. He probably is not amazing. He's probably not a superstar, but his offensive line is so bad at the moment that we can't even tell how good he is because
Yeah.
he's not in a position to perform well. So, I mean, maybe the argument could be made. I think if you're just like electric fun, then maybe. I don't think Jeremiah Love falls into that category. Reggie Bush sort of was just because of he also
Yeah.
had just a sort of cult of personality that surrounded him that also Jeremiah Love definitely doesn't have. I'm trying to think. I don't know who are running backs in recent years that they alone were.
I mean, I think on like Saquon Barkley on the Giants was kind of an example of that. Like people just loved Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, and maybe Adrian Peterson in those Viking seasons, like he was just so good that you would watch Vikings games or you guaranteed turn on Red Zone, you were going to get a cool Adrian Peterson
Yeah.
highlight, but then they would cut to the score and you'd be like, and the Vikings are losing 35-7. But,
Yeah.
like, wow, what an 80-yard run though.
I mean, that was Barkley on the Giants. Like
Yeah.
they're down 25 points. He's gotten hit behind the line 8 times, but on the 9th one, he broke it for 65 yards.
I'm torn because you do want it. It's cool to have like a sort of feel like you have a superstar and you can really start to feel like your own. You're rolling the dice though that person needs to really embrace the situation. They need to make it seem like they want to be there forever. They need to love where they are. He needs to feel like, and that's what Adrian Peterson had going for him with the Vikings is he became the face of the Vikings during that era.
Yeah.
And Barkley, I guess, to an extent, with the Giants did too.
Oh, yeah.
But then he left. so like now that how Giants fans feel about him now is probably completely different to how they felt about him 5 years ago. But
okay, any other sports topics?
I guess one note, obviously tennis gearing up to the big summer. And obviously we've spoken about the dominance of Sinner and Alcaraz, but Alcaraz is out of the French Open. He's missing Roland Garros, so we're denied the sort of monumental matchup between these two in pretty much every final where they both play in the tournament. Great for Sinner. He has a chance to push himself way ahead in the Alcaraz-Sinner debate because he could win Roland Garros and Wimbledon. He won the Australian. He could go for all 4 this year. Like he's got a pretty good chance because Roland Garros would have been the one where he felt like he had the biggest disadvantage against Alcaraz. And maybe Wimbledon the second, hard court, he would feel more suited. So, but in a way, I kind of think it's nice because it's just a bit boring to just turn on men's tennis and have it be Alcaraz Sinner in every final. And at least this Alcaraz injury guarantees the fact that it's got to be someone else.
Okay, any non-sports topics then? Did you watch any movies or TV shows on the train? Or did you just podcast it?
I just podcast. It's very interesting. I never think to like prepare a movie or a TV show to watch on my laptop or anything when I'm on a train. And so this is a 7-hour train ride. It's a fairly
Yeah.
lengthy.
You
And
get through
whereas
almost
on
a
a
half a season of TV shows that way.
whereas on a plane, I would absolutely want to watch movies. On a train, it never even crosses my mind. It's
Yeah.
just I'll listen to podcasts, I'll maybe
So
read a book, and
so I'll throw
try
you
and
then
sleep.
a podcast thing I wrote down. Um, I know we touched on Bill Simmons way too much. Did you listen to his rewatchables of The Kindergarten Cop?
I did, yes.
I love The Kindergarten Cop. It like that was a movie for me growing up. I watched so many times. It was always on television. It was just a really good movie. I am surprised halfway through that podcast, no one told him to just stop trying to do the Arnold voice because
Yeah.
it was so bad. You don't
Also,
have
Kyle
to
Brandt was
read.
doing it pretty well.
Kyle Brandt did a good one, but
Yeah.
Kyle Brandt also benefited from the fact that he was doing
It's
like his tagline or like
yes.
one phrase he said. There was a point when Bill Simmons read a 5-sentence quote that Arnold said in Arnold's voice, and it went to like four different like dialects or like types of voices. Like at one point it was Arnold, one point it was like not to be mean, but like a deaf person. At one point it went to like a Spanish type person. Like it was like, who is he impersonating here?
I'll also say this, and like
Just read the quote.
I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. People who've known me for a long time will know that, and read his autobiography, a decade ago, and really enjoyed it. I think which they touch on in that Rewatchables, he walks a very difficult line between sort of serious action star, but also being able to take himself unseriously in a really good way that a lot of other people fail to do. And he knows his voice is funny. They debate this in the podcast.
No,
He knows his voice is funny.
he no, he 100%. So I've heard an interview with him where when he was just starting out, I cannot remember the movie now. I don't think it was Kindergarten Cop, but it was pretty early on. He was going to like a dialect coach to try and have more like proper English, whether it's American English or English
Oh, I
English.
think this was for Terminator
Maybe, okay.
because they
And
then embraced the idea that it made him more sort of robotic to speak the way he
yeah.
speaks.
And then the director said, like, no, like you have a unique voice. Keep
Yeah.
your voice. People know it. People recognize it. People like it. Don't change your voice. Like he clearly knows that, that is a thing that is endearing to him for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that was for the Terminator. But all that being said, and I'm all for like making fun of his voice a little bit. You can cross a line between then how much you're making fun of the voice, where now it's not okay. And I think Simmons
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
crossed that line. And similarly, I think of it too. He struggles a lot with foreign names, whatever it is. It really bothers me, for example, that he basically only ever calls Jokic the Joker because he doesn't call himself the Joker. And it's no easier to say Joker than it is Jokic. Like, it's not like I get with Giannis calling him Giannis because his surname is quite challenging.
Yeah.
Jokic is easy to say. It's the same number of letters as Joker. If anything, it's shorter because he says the Joker versus Jokic. And I think there's a certain sort of almost xenophobia within that of like, respect someone enough to call them by their actual name. And yeah, to a degree, I feel that with where he was going with Schwarzenegger. The only thing I'll also disagree on, just to pick on that Rewatchables episode, they were talking about what his most famous sort of catchphrases are, and they were saying that they thought that "It's not a tumor" could be the second most after "I'll be
I'll be
back."
back.
They didn't mention "Hasta la vista," which like I feel like way bigger overall cultural impact than
I
"It's
don't
not a
know.
tumor."
I agreed. Like, I would almost say it's not a tumor could be number one. Like the amount of times in my
No
life I've heard.
chance.
No, I'm not joking. I'm legit.
Yeah, but
Like the amount of times I've heard someone say it's not a tumor is insane. Like anytime the word tumor gets, I'm not joking. Anytime if it's
Not
not a
every time.
serious if
Yeah,
it's not a
'cause,
serious
sir,
situation,
you
if
have
I'm not in the
tumors. You have
hospital
tumors
and
all over
someone's
your
like,
body.
your wife has a tumor, and the husband's like, it's not a tumor, and the
But it
doctor's like,
is.
no,
But it
actually, it
is.
is a stage 4 tumor. She's got a month left. No, not in those instances, but anytime like tumor just gets thrown out, the it is always a go-to. It's not a tumor. Like it's crazy. And I kind of do agree with Kyle Brandt that Amani tumor also made it way more popular
But
because then everyone did that as
again, that's
well.
a very American reference.
Yeah,
That's no
yeah.
so
Well, it's an
it's
American movie.
with the biggest one of the biggest global, like, it's not an American movie in the sense that, like, they're not speaking about its impact just in I'll there's no way that I'll Be Back. I'll Be Back is
I'll Be
the
Back is number 1.
55 length winner. That's like Secretariat running against some donkeys. Like, it's not even because for what if like the number of times you'll still hear someone say like I'll be back, and then you still have that look in their eyes that they sort of were tempted to do like I'll be back. Uh, I'll Be Back is definitely one. I think Hasta La Vista is number 2.
I haven't heard Hasta La Vista. Because isn't it always though, isn't it Hasta La Vista, baby? Do you have to throw
But
the
that's why I
baby in at the
think
end?
because I think not only do you get people kind of sometimes doing like "Hasta la vista," they'll kind of do the Schwarzenegger, but you occasionally get someone will say "Hasta la vista," and then someone chimes in afterwards with "baby." Like that's it's like as if
Well,
they're
here we go. You were
completing
in
the quote.
Barcelona. Did you hear anyone do that?
I just did it every time. Every time someone said "Hasta la vista," I said "baby," and they looked at me like I spoke perfect Spanish. But yeah, it's not a tumor. I don't know, to me, that's on the par with a lot of his it's on a par with Get to the Chopper. It's on a par with, yeah, a few other lines.
I don't know. I think I hear that one still a lot.
Because
Obviously, I think it's more America too. Like I've never heard someone in London say that.
you let me know the next time you hear someone you give a podcast update the next time you hear someone say it's not a tumor, and do
Okay.
the some kind of accent, not just the next time you hear someone say it's not a tumor. That doesn't count
No,
as a Schwarzenegger
referencing.
quote.
I get it. Referencing.
Yeah, other than that, fine. And look, we've also spoken to this before, just to kind of dissect the rewatchables a bit.
Ooh.
I cannot get and it's the reason why I like when Chuck Klosterman goes on, because he just questions the categories that they use kind of relentlessly, where he's like, I don't understand what Apex Mountain means. And the meaning of Apex Mountain appears to change from one podcast to the next of like, is it this person's biggest achievement, or they then had their biggest achievement next, which doesn't make sense as Apex. Like, he can't really properly explain it. It's like, was
But
this that
I understand it. I
it's
think
like
I understand it, but he
he
can't
tries to
explain it.
he means that it's when they had the most sort of
Juice. Like
yes.
like when
But
they're
the
at
argument
the height of like their pop culture career fame.
But he
Like
usually
when
uses as now they get to do the thing they want to do. But the problem I have with that is the justification of that sometimes is he made this movie and then he made his biggest movie next. Therefore, that implies that the apex was before the biggest movie because that's the
yeah.
thing that allowed him to do his biggest movie. But then the same argument would be, well, surely they had the most juice after they did the biggest movie. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any fucking sense.
No, it doesn't. I love how we're getting into the details here. There will be a lot of people who have no
I
idea
think
what we're talking
I
about.
think the overlap between our listeners and Rewatchables listeners is probably fairly good. But
Okay.
and if you don't, you can turn off now. The other one that bothers me, and we have also spoken about this, is the things that aged badly conversation, which his will be.
So
I
again,
mean,
real quick for those who don't know, what we're talking about the rewatchables, the podcast where they talk about a movie that is a rewatchable movie. Things that age the worst are things in the movie that when you watch it now, don't look so good. Not look so good from a visual standpoint, but like the give you a bad reaction or bad taste in your mouth, I guess.
Sort of, but that's not how he uses it because he will be like, "No cell phones." It's like, yeah, it's a fucking movie in 1972. There's no cell phones.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "That aged badly." It's like, no, the technology didn't exist yet. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the same with, like in this one, it was the kids drinking milk, and it's like, that aged badly. It's like, one, I'm still pretty certain kids drink milk at school. Two, like, okay, you could argue that there's probably more milk options so that they're not just saying, "Hey, just have cow's milk." And there's almond milk in case you're lactose intolerant and stuff. But again, it didn't age badly because it's a
It would be
perfect
like if milk
reflection.
killed kids.
It would to mention O.J. Simpson again, it would be like as if you were watching Airplane and there was like a line in it where someone goes, "O.J. Simpson, what a great guy. He'll never murder anyone." And
Yeah.
then you'd go, "That aged badly." That's what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to just be like,
Or like,
oh,
so they just did Ghostbusters. Like one of the things that aged kind of poorly was in the opening scene, Bill Murray's doing like the really funny psychic testing, and it like implies that he's gonna like sleep with the woman that he's doing the testing on, who's like an 18-year-old student and he's the professor. Like that
yes.
aged poorly. When you watch that now, you're like, wait, is he gonna sleep with his student? That's not allowed. But in the 80s, people didn't really give a shit about that. You know, like
Yes.
this scene has now kind of aged poorly when you watch it with a 2026 lens.
100%. And he doesn't use it consistently that way. Same with Apex Mountain. Anyway, it frustrates me as I listen, and maybe that's the intent sometimes.
Probably. He's going out of his way just to frustrate you.
I had one other, it just came into my mind from a popular culture perspective, and now it's instantly left.
Well, I was going to say, I think today I'm going to go see, finally, Project Hail Mary. I haven't
Oh,
been to
wow.
the movies in forever. And I've been wanting to go for several weeks, but things have just kept popping up every weekend that I haven't had a real good opportunity to kind of go. So I figure might as well go now because I don't know how much longer it'll be in the theaters, and I want to see it in the theater. So
It's really good. It's really long.
yeah,
You
well,
know,
all movies are long nowadays.
not to
I
steal
mean,
everybody.
I have like a 90-minute window. You know, like a
Oh,
movie should be
God,
90 minutes. That should be
fucking hate
the
that.
century mark. You know, give them
I
100.
I hate that so much. It's the stupidest thing in the world. But anyway, it's going to really frustrate me when I can't remember now. And I know as soon as we stop recording, it will instantly come to mind. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap it up.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.